All right.
Hey, thanks for joining us. This is Jason Harris. I am the head evangelist at Panoply, and I'm joined by my friend Kirsten Alana, who is a content creator, photographer, travel influencer. Actually, I should describe you. You describe you. Tell us about your activities and also your feel free to pitch yourself as well, because this is where we want this to be. We want people to know the full spectrum of things that Kirsten is doing.
Well, thank you, Jason. It's funny you should throw it back to me because I hate talking about myself. But you were off to a great start. I think of myself as a photographer first and foremost. I have a blog, so I guess at times I'm also a blogger. I have a lot of followers online, which often gets me sort of lumped in with what are called influencers. I do think of myself as different from most influencers because for me, I do what I do to help people make decisions about travel and to want to travel more. It's not for the same reason a lot of influencers do it. It's not to get me a free trip or to get me experiences. It's really so that I can be an assistant to people who want knowledge about the world in a way that they can't always get, from a magazine or
Yeah.
from sort of all the ways we've always gotten information about travel. And it's how influencers came about because people wanted to follow people and get information from them. But then somewhere it kind of went off the rails. And so I'm there just still trying to be a voice for not just authentic travel, but also responsible travel and
Mhm.
understanding that we don't go to a place just to check things off a list, but to actually learn and to actually engage with a culture that's different from our own. So whatever you want to call me, that's what motivates me and drives me. And photography is always at the center of it because that's what I love the most is
Yes.
photography.
And so, just for anyone who might be interested, Kirsten and I met about 5 years ago. I was doing marketing with Nokia, and
Yeah.
which was my it was a very fun job.
Yeah.
And Kirsten and I have a lot of common friends, and we did a trip at CES in Las Vegas.
We did.
Had a great time, and then one thing that was really awesome is that when I was at Nokia, they were an innovative brand who, because of our amazing digital marketer, Tejal Patel, a huge shout out to Tejal, she gave me license to seek people who, content creators who wanted to create things in their own voice using Nokia as a part of the story, but we never made it Nokia the story. In fact, I
Exactly.
was known, and I think that's one thing that kind of set my brand of influencer marketing. And I don't like the word influencer marketing, but you
Yeah,
kind of
but
touched on it. And the whole Fire Festival thing has kind of perverted the
yeah.
thing. But authentic influencer marketing is when you give a content creator a product or service and you say, here it is, adapt it and make it relevant to your audience, have it be a
Yeah.
part of your content stream. But what happened is that all the brands decided to use influencers just as amplification methods, and they said, hey, we're going to pay you X amount of dollars to do this. At Nokia, we never did that. That's why
Yeah.
you and I worked together for so many years doing the Nokia stuff, and then now
Yeah.
we're friends after the fact.
We sure are.
So marketing is alive and well. Instagram marketing is alive and well. Panoply is super excited because, for those who may not know, Panoply is a data warehouse. We're basically a database of databases in the cloud. You can connect a lot of different systems into our data warehouse, including Salesforce, Google Analytics, Twitter data, and in January, we just launched Instagram. So you can
Yay.
now you can input your Instagram credentials, and all of your data comes in. I think it's 130 tables of data about your posts, your metadata, everything from the filters you use, the times of day, your follower count. There's all sorts of data that is now available. And our intent today is to actually have a friend-to-friend conversation, because Kirsten is a content creator. You've worked with multiple brands in the travel and tech
Yeah.
and
Hundreds of brands.
yeah, hundreds of brands. So you've been around the block. I don't want to say old school, but you are an experienced marketer. Not only are you a content creator, you're a marketer yourself.
Yeah.
And we're both data nerds, and we both love coming together and talking about stuff. And I would say before Panoply's ingestion, I hate that word, but that's ingesting data is
It
what we
makes
call it.
sense though. Yeah.
Um, inclusion of Instagram data, the ability to build charts and graphs around Instagram data was very hard, and you had to pay tens of thousands of dollars a month to have a tool, an analytics tool, to have Instagram data. So now pretty much anyone can do it for hundreds of the Panoply pricing starts at $100 or hundreds of dollars a month. You get a visualization tool, which is another few $100 a month. So anyway, you can now roll your own Instagram data, dashboards, and that sort of thing. So we wanted to have a conversation today about, from your point of view as a content creator and as an internet marketer or a web marketer, Instagram marketer, whatever you want to call it. What is your wish list of like, what data insights would you like to get out of your data? And I think we should actually chunk it, because there's like engagement data, and we can talk about that as a topic. There's data about your audience that you probably would like to know about. And then there's probably a third category that I'm not even touching on. But like, you know, I pitched you on this idea about a month ago to be to have, and another thing we should point out is that we have made Kirsten's Instagram data available in the platform, and I will link to the blog post and you'll see it, but that you can now ingest Kirsten's Instagram data. And it's very interesting because, you know, you have worked hard and you have amassed an audience of about 250,000 people. So, and you have, you know, you've been on Instagram since the beginning. So like there are years of data available now and some great engagement and that sort of thing. So let's I'll stop talking
about the data.
Yeah, let's talk about the data. So let's maybe start with engagement. Like what would you like to know about engagement from your Instagram data?
I want to know what posts perform the best, and I want to know that quickly. Obviously in Instagram, you can go through and you can get by post engagement, and there's a lot of sort of screenshotting and writing things down, and Instagram itself and even Facebook, the parent company, don't allow you to export your data in a way that is quickly usable and digestible, and then giving you the ability to apply that and make changes or tweaks as necessary to your business. So I think Panoply is great because you can unpack not only the engagement, but your audience data, and not even just engagement, but deeper than that, like study what you've been doing and then help it influence what you should be doing. And Panoply just makes it so easy to get that data and then using the other tools, visualize it in a way that then you can immediately respond to what you've learned and then apply it to what you're doing. And so whether you're a bigger brand, which is probably more applicable for Panoply because brands obviously have more money to play with to look at data, to study, and to make changes than some of us who are self-employed and sort of sole proprietors. You know, we don't always have the budgets to look at data that large brands do, but I think large brands aren't doing it enough, and they can always do it better. But for me, for myself, the thing I'm interested in the most about data is just what works, so then I can do more of that, and what's not working really. And so whether that's, you know, not understanding my audience and not targeting my content to my audience appropriately, or just not posting the right content, both of those are things that I constantly need and want to be thinking about, and data helps me do that.
Okay, let's get a little geeky for a sec. So like things that, let me throw out a few things that I think would be interesting, and you tell me if they are. I'd be interested if I were in your shoes. And also let's talk about in a second, like what types of data, like when you do a brand engagement. So like, I know you recently went to Catalina a week ago. What are you asked for by brands? But let's pause for a second and talk about your engagement. Like things I think would be interesting are there certain times of day that would be best for you to post? Which hashtags are performing best if you have a post with maybe, you know, 3 or 4 hashtags? What media types are performing well? So like maybe carousels or a single image or a video, that sort of thing. Like dig in, what data points, and then like kind of what aspects of those would you find interesting for someone to, and let's talk about the reason we're actually talking about this is that Panoply has built an Instagram data challenge. And what we're doing is we've opened up our platform where you can sign up for free, ingest Kirsten's data, or if you want brand side data, we have Shinesty, which is an apparel company. We've opened up their data. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to enable all the data analysts and the aspiring like data geeks to go in and say, hey, like I can like matrix style, I can take these tables and meld these data points so that we can see like, you know, what the most highly engaged with filter was. So like if Kirsten used the, you know, certain filter. So that's the reason we're talking about all this, is we're trying to give you the data analyst fuel for your exploration. So with that, Kirsten, like, are there any like engagement type questions that you would like to ask of the data?
Well, I think a lot of brands ask for data from you after you've worked with them in the form of just, screenshot what Instagram gives you. And we all know it's, how much of your audience has actually been exposed to your content, which unfortunately is not everyone following you. And then it's things like how many likes and how many comments did this post get? And those data points are all great, but why I love Panoply is you can dig even deeper and say, what time of day should I be posting at? Because Instagram sort of gives you this range, and they give you this little bar chart that never changes. And I refuse to believe that that isn't something that would change, because that doesn't really make sense, especially given the fact that I'm traveling all over the world all the time and posting at different times. And so if that's literally never changing based on my behavior and my audience's behavior, then something seems off about that. So dialing in deep with Panoply's data and looking at actual times of the day and time zones, looking at where your audience is based more deeply than Instagram can tell you. And you had some great ideas, Jason, that I hadn't even occurred to me a minute ago. I mean, remind me of I get so tunnel vision.
Hashtag performance. So like if you say, because I've done some trips as well for like travel and then being asked to create content around the travel.
Yep.
And it's always like, if you're given a list, like say, I'm just going to make up a thing. Say you go to Carlsbad, California, and you're staying at the Hilton on the waterfront, that you'll be asked to, use Hilton as a hashtag, or, whatever the name of the property is, visit CA, visit California, visit Huntington Beach, visit Carlsbad. They might be, so it's be interesting to say, okay, of those hashtags I used, how did people find my content? Are they searching for, was visit California the highest performing hashtag of that post?
Yeah. I mean, Panoply seems to do such a better job at that. I know in Instagram, you can click through to a hashtag and you can see how many posts are tagged with that hashtag. And you can kind of see what Instagram deems as the posts that are more important than others. And you never really know how accurate that is, or how biased that is, or how much the algorithm has influenced that. But Panoply allows you to sort of dig into that without that bias of Instagram, and just dial down into hard facts and figures and numbers and data that, I can get a little lost when you dig too far into data. But the point is that Panoply gives you more options. Where in the spectrum of people who use that hashtag did my post fall? And how many people saw my post just because of that hashtag, et cetera, et cetera. These are the things that Panoply seems to be able to do for you that other measurement tools just can't.
Yeah. Or that charge up the wazoo to do.
Right.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about engagement. Then now let's talk about what would Kirsten's wish list be for the audience? So like what data points or what aha moments would you like to have about your audience engagement?
Okay. So when it comes to audience engagement, I'd really like to know who in my audience is actually engaging. Who's seeing my posts, who's going to my profile to find my posts, even though they couldn't find them in my feed. And Instagram will tell you, if you have a business profile, a list of countries and cities where your content is doing pretty well. But again, like I've said before, that doesn't ever seem to change, even though I'm gaining new followers all the time. And that doesn't even really seem to ever sort of, the line never moves with that data. It's just been the same for years, and it's never really adjusting. But when I go to other sites and other measurement tools, I can see that they have a different set of data than Instagram seems to. The information is more dialed in. I want to know not just what country, but I want to know what cities and towns people are coming from. I want to know maybe where their income bracket is. Am I attracting, because I work more in luxury travel and eco-friendly travel and sustainable travel, I want to know if my target consumers are actually seeing my content and then making decisions based on that. So if I can dial down to say, okay, if everybody in the San Diego area is seeing my tips about San Diego, great. But also, is that person who's maybe in Maine and wants to fly all the way across the country to get some early spring in San Diego, are they seeing my content because they searched for tips about San Diego travel and then did that search, and maybe them using some hashtags, did they funnel into my content? And all of those things are missing. And not just, where they're from and what their income bracket is, but am I reaching the transgender community, or am I reaching my friends who are LGBTQ? I mean, it's not just male or female.
Yeah.
It's what are the lifestyle habits of my consumers, and am I reaching the kind of people that I need and want to reach?
Yeah.
It's not as broad as what Instagram will give you. I want it more dialed in.
Yeah. And two things come to mind as I hear you say that. One, this is our wish list. This is Kirsten's wish list of data.
Yeah.
We realize that the Instagram API and what is brought into Panoply, or any tool that ingests Instagram data like Panoply, the data may not be there.
It might not. That's true.
But that's the bad news. The good news is, so one thing that Panoply is really awesome for, any data warehouse, is that you can combine multiple data sources. So you can bring in email data, Google Analytics, Twitter, blah blah blah. So if you maybe it's not offered by the Instagram API, but we can get a name, a phone number, an email address. We can then bring in another data source, such as a click-through stream or an email database, and we can extrapolate maybe that data of geography, preferences online, all that stuff. So
yeah.
Cool. And then so we talked about this Instagram data challenge. What the data challenge is, I forgot to describe it, is that we have unleashed the data, and we want people to go in, aspiring data analysts, to go in, make your queries. And what we have is we have 3 categories that we have launched, and Kirsten's actually a judge. So we also have a panel of judges, and we have 3 categories, which each of them have their own $1,000 prize. And what we want is, we want you to go in, hack the data, build either a visualization, or maybe it's an insight. So maybe you actually go in and you see that, hey, I looked at Kirsten's data, and my insight is that she should be publishing at 5 p.m. on a Sunday because I'm seeing a X% boost in engagement. If that's your insight, great, submit it.
Yeah. And if that's true, I would love to know that. Yeah.
So those submissions will happen on our community. But again, with this video, in the description, I will put the homepage for the challenge, because participating is super easy. You just fill out a little form with your name and email address. You start your Panoply account, you ingest the data, and then you make your visualization, or you make either your visualization or your insight known via a submission process on our community. It's a 4-step process. It's super easy, especially if you're a little already fluent with SQL. If you're not, you can learn. In fact, okay, if you're not familiar with SQL, we have, and you're wondering what you can do, kind of get your feet wet, I have a blog post that we have written that was published at the end of last month, so 2 weeks ago, and there's a few things that we published the SQL code for, so that you can actually do all this yourself inside Panoply. Things that we have queued up are engagement. So like, you can look at engagement and reach. You can look at follower growth. You can look at referral traffic. You can see which posts have the most likes, which comments have which posts have the most comments.
Yeah.
We even have a SQL query in there that we've built where you can see the best time of day for your posting. So
that's so helpful.
Yeah. So we've tried to at least kind of like give you the boat and kind of push you out of the marina a little bit. And therefore, if you want to then take it from there, analysts, we'd love to see what you have to offer. So we're super excited about the challenge. So we have, and then, so the challenge runs for the month of April. At the end of that month, we're going to look at all the submissions on the community. Kirsten and the other esteemed judges are going to look at the submissions. Kirsten, is there anything else that, in terms of like data nerdery or data hacking, that you would that's come to mind, or should we wrap?
Well, I would just love to challenge people to inspire us. I mean, if you really enjoy data, try to come up with a data set or a visualization that none of us would think of on this side of the fence. You know, whether it's me as a judge of this competition and as someone who has to create content and find a way to market it, you know, try to surprise us. I mean, that would, to me, help an entry stand out the most, as if it's visualizing some data point or something that I've never even thought I might need help with or might need to know. So I think that's a good tip for anyone ever entering any sort of competition, is just try to be original in whatever you're submitting. And if you can do that, that'll really put you leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else.
Yeah. I know one thing that I did once when I was actually working with you on the Nokia stuff is that we were able to pinpoint and draw analytics based on location. So like there was a time where we did a thing with Social Media Week in Santa Monica, California, and I was able to track through using the Instagram tool that we had, and it's actually available using the data in the tables in Panoply, is that you can develop a heat map of, so we were able to say, okay, the conference was at, I can't remember what it was. There was a co-working spot in Santa Monica. We were able to draw a mile map around it and see where people were Instagramming from Social Media Week. It was really cool. So like that type of stuff. So yeah, so like if it's a heat map, if it's a hashtag analyzer, that's the kind of stuff that would be great. So we look forward to your creativity. And Kirsten, I want to thank you for your time, and tell us where we can find you online.
Thanks, Jason. I appreciate you asking me to do this. And you can just find me as Kirsten Elena basically everywhere online. It's my website, it's my social media handle, and my business is Kirsten Elena Photography. So just Googling all that, and it's KirstenAlana, and I'm sure that'll be in the description for this video.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys, for following.
Great. Thanks, Kirsten.